5-3, multiplying rational numbers. Actually, this is one of the few occasions where we're going to do two lessons at once. So you're going to do 5-3 and 5-4. So here first we have 5-3 multiplying rational numbers. In other words, you're multiplying fractions. Now we're going to involve negative numbers and variables. Things don't change. You're still going to multiply the fractions across the top and across the bottom, get answers. Don't forget the rules for integers. So here we have 5 times 3 is 15, 12 times 8 is 96, and it's a negative times a positive, so the answer is going to be negative. Done. All right. Mixed numbers. We have to turn mixed numbers into improper fractions before we multiply, from back in 6th grade. You'll notice in the first one we have 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is going to be 7. So we have negative 7/5 times, we have 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5 over 2, and that's also negative as well. So I have negative 7/5 times negative 5/2. Multiplying across the top, 7 times 5 is 35, and 5 times 2 is 10. It's a negative number times a negative number. The answer is positive because negative times negative is positive. So that's a review of just basic fraction times fraction, mixed number times mixed number with integers thrown in there, positives and negatives. Now we see that we have variables. So let's see how things change. So I have 2a over b times b squared over d. In this case, multiply across the top. 2a times b squared is 2ab squared. And on the bottom you have b times d, bd. Done. Now, some of you might recognize that there is some simplification that can take place in all three examples. And there are various places where you can do that simplification. But I just want to quickly review multiplying and dividing rational numbers. So you don't have to simplify. We will get to that later. 5-4, dividing rational numbers. Things don't change when we divide rational numbers from when you divided fractions. We do have to remember something called a reciprocal. That's where you take the second fraction and flip it over, and then we have the first fraction times the reciprocal of the second fraction. Something you haven't done in a little while, but reciprocals. Reciprocal. So back to the problem. Now it's a multiplication problem, and you're going to multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom through the numerators and the denominators. This is why we're really doing two lessons in one, because these problems are really nothing more than multiplication. 5 times 8 is 40. 12 times 3 is 36. It's a negative times a positive, so the answer is negative. Again, you can simplify. I'm not asking you to simplify. I want the basic, being able to multiply or turn the division problems into multiplication and then multiplying. Turning the first mixed number into an improper fraction, we have 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. That's 7/5 divided by, and the second one, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5, 5/2. Remember, it's division, so we need to find the reciprocal of the second fraction, 2/5. So our problem is 7/5 times 2/5. And when we multiply across the top, 7 times 2 is 14, and 5 times 5 is 25, 14/25. Again, simplification may be possible. You're not required to do it at this point in time. So now we get to the ones that involve the variables, the sort of new thing we're going to add in addition to the integers. We're going to take the second fraction, and we're going to find the reciprocal, 8 over 2x. And then the problem is 3xy over 4 times 8 over 2x. Multiplying across the numerators, 3xy times 8 is 24xy. 3 times 8 is 24. The xy just sort of tags along. And then we have on the bottom the denominators. 4 times 2x is going to be 8x. I recognize you can simplify this. You're not required to. You're welcome to go ahead if you want. I just want you to be able to turn them into multiplication problems and simplify. Your homework, 2 separate assignments, 213, 38 to 44. Two 13, 38 to 44, that is 5-3. And 218 and 219, 40 to 50, the evens, that's 5-4.